Welcome to The F Word, the Fed's national television appeal event. My name's Hugh Ferris and we have a really good show in store for you tonight. The Fed is the largest Jewish social care charity in Manchester and supports 1 in 8 Jewish homes across our city region through its community services teams, as well as caring for 140 residents at its Heathlands Village care home. It really is the Manchester Jewish community's local charity. It's safety net. The Fed needs to raise £2 million this year to continue its life-enhancing and sometimes life-saving services. So we'd love you to sit back, enjoy, but most importantly, dig deep, because the Fed really needs your help, and every single pound counts. Welcome to The F Word. We have a very exciting half an hour or so ahead of us here this evening, and I know that we are already feeling the outpouring of love and support that you have given the Fed so far. But we wanted to start the show by bringing you this message from the Chief Rabbi.
The UK Jewish community is exceptionally proud of the wide-ranging and extraordinary achievements of the Fed, both in the community and at Heathlands Village. And the Fed always carries out its work according to the highest Jewish values of selfless altruism. The Fed supports 1 in 8 Jewish families in Manchester. That is a staggering statistic, and it benefits from the volunteering of over 500 amazing people. It's not a surprise that during the COVID-19 pandemic, the demand from the Jewish community for help from the Fed has increased significantly. The Fed now relies on your help, your assistance and generosity to enable it to continue its life-enhancing and often life-saving activities, and to enable it to go from strength to strength in the future. Thank you so much for your kind support.
Well, our thanks to the Chief Rabbi for his support. We wanted to spend a little bit of time on the programme this evening talking to those people very much at the forefront of the Fed's work and indeed fundamental to its success. So I wanted to welcome along Mark Cunningham, who is the Chief Executive, and also Bernie Garner, the Director of Community Services. Mark, perhaps if I could start with you. In its various forms, the Fed has been playing its part in the Jewish community in Manchester for 150 years. You have been playing your part in that effort for 25. So perhaps you could give us your unique perspective on how difficult it has been over the course of the last year because of the coronavirus pandemic, and many others are telling this tale, but what's your perspective on that?
It's so difficult to even begin to comprehend the journey that we've been on. Thinking back to February and March last year, we sensed the storm clouds gathering and the pressure and the anxiety beginning to build. We took the decision to close down early, to lock down our services at Heathlands Village, and to change the services that we deliver in the community. Whilst other services and organisations were beginning to stop what they were doing, we were beginning to do more. And that was so important. We had to support and be there for the community going forward. Despite everything we did, COVID came and it hit us hard. We lost far too many people that were precious to us, to their families, people we lost in the community and at Heathlands Village. And that sense of sorrow and grief and loss is really hard to put into words. It's been a very difficult time, and our staff have been there throughout this. Over a third of them contracted the virus, and it's been a massive challenge. We've had to use more staff, and as a result, the financial pressures have been significant.
And for that community who knows the Fed as its safety net, how important has it been for that to be strengthened, given that other safety nets have fallen by the wayside for some of those people who need it the most?
I think one of the things that I know, having worked for the Fed for such a long time, is that safety net has always been there. COVID didn't create social care heroes. They've always been there. We've always had them. And we've had to be very agile in terms of our services and widen our services.
Perhaps, Bernie, you could tell us about some of those increasing demands and the breadth of services that have been called upon over the course of the last year, particularly those suffering from mental health issues that have been exacerbated by the pandemic.
Yeah, I think for the people that we support, the last 12 months have been extraordinary. And for many of us, it's been an extraordinary 12 months. But if you're someone who has mental health issues, someone who's very isolated and lonely, maybe living in poverty, it's been a catastrophic 12 months. So as Mark's described, our resources and our services had to really step up. We have an extraordinary army of volunteers at the Fed. We've got over 550 volunteers. Very unique to our community, that, because it's how they step up in times of real need, and they did. So we had our volunteers going out to see those isolated and vulnerable community members, making sure that people were okay. People were spending hours on the phone, checking in with people to see how they were managing. Mental health services that we did provide in groups, they all had to stop. So it was making sure that people were okay who were isolated and maybe living at home. We have huge demands for children with disabilities to get the support they get through the Fed, and our teams had to adapt how they worked with these children. They had to adapt in how they could support the children. So again, it was about our social workers, our community workers going out and making sure that families were able to manage the challenges, able to manage a child at home with disabilities who can be quite challenging. So, you know, it's been a stretch for everyone in the community.
Well, I know that both of you will be interested to hear from our next contributors, because they are the very ones who benefit from those 550 plus volunteers and all the work that they have been doing. Let's hear from some of those who have needed but have benefited from the Fed.
I wanted to let you know how grateful we've been to all the staff and carers for what they've done for Dad over the years. They've made the last few difficult years bearable, and in this last 12 months, when staff in care homes have been at the sharpest of front lines, they have done and continue to do remarkable work. Thank you.
Thank goodness the Fed exists. It is amazing. You make such a difference, and it is much appreciated.
My volunteer calls have been a lifeline.
I've not been able to let my children choose for many months. Choice is something many take for granted. These vouchers allowed me to give them choice, and we had Shabbat meat meals during the week. Thank you.
Words can never suffice or explain how wonderful a volunteer you have in Stephen, and how his regular weekly visits have been instrumental in my son being able to manage the multitude of problems that he has.
I can't tell you how much help it is. We are really struggling.
So sorry to trouble you, but I just feel that I can pour my heart out to you. I've got no one else who'll listen to me.
The Fed do a fantastic and very valuable job in the community.
As the daughter of a fairly new resident, I can't thank you enough for your wonderful carers. If my mother would still have been at home, life for her and myself would have been impossible.
The care we receive is literally allowing us to enjoy life as a regular family. The Fed are our angels. I've come to appreciate how central and vital the Fed is for our community, and how fortunate and blessed we are that this charity exists, and what an amazing resource we have amongst us.
Well, we're still here with Mark and Bernie. Bernie, how satisfying is it to see that the work that you're doing has been met with such gratitude and happiness?
Yeah, it was lovely to see that. We are very proud of the work that we do, and it's so wonderful to get great feedback from the people we support. But saying that, we know that there's many people out there who continue to need a great level of support, and the reach of us as the Fed is right across Greater Manchester. We're in 1 in 8 homes in Greater Manchester, delivering that level of support to older people, to people who are suffering from mental health issues. And there are, and has been over the last 12 months, issues where we've had to support people around domestic abuse, women fleeing violence at home. And if you consider how difficult that must be when you're in the middle of a pandemic, you know, we've got extraordinary staff who support people through very difficult times.
And Mark, we've spent a lot of time talking about the past 12 months, but what about the next 12 months? Because it is in that context that future needs may well grow.
Absolutely. We know that demand's going to increase. We know people are living longer, the community is getting larger, and people are living longer with conditions such as dementia. And at the same time, we still occupy that difficult space in the community where nobody wants to be, and that's protecting children from abuse. And we don't want children to be defined by the abuse that they've encountered. We want them to be healthy and happy and safe. And that's something I'm very proud of, and we'll continue to do that. And we need people's help in order to ensure that we are there and effective, keeping children safe, keeping people away from loneliness and isolation, and protecting people's mental health.
To both of you, thank you very much indeed. And those are just some of the reasons why your support and your donations are so important, trying to help out all those people who are in need, and that need may well grow in the future too. So you can call, you can donate online as well, and of course every pound counts. Now, of course, support for the Fed is far and wide. Let's hear some messages now from the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, and the Bury South MP, Christian Wakeford.
Hi, I'm Andy Burnham, Mayor of Greater Manchester, here at the Fed with the Bury South MP, Christian Wakeford. And we're both here, crossing party political divides, to say we both support this amazing place, and we hope that you do too. It's been such a support to the Jewish community, but actually it's more than that. It's a model of how social care in Greater Manchester should be.
I remember my first visit here as my first official visit, and that reaction was just wow. Since then, unfortunately, we've had the pandemic, and during that time, the Fed has helped 1 in 8 Jewish homes across Greater Manchester. So the Fed has been supporting you. It's time you can support the Fed, so please do.
Well, joining us now on the F Word is firstly another Bernie. Bernie Yaffe, who is the chairman of the Fed, and also Rafi Bloom, the director of fundraising. Bernie, perhaps if I could start with you. Normally at this time you'd be standing in front of 500 people at your charity dinner and extolling the virtues of the great work that the Fed has done over the course of the last 12 months. The last year has been very different, and perhaps you'd be telling a little bit of a different story as well.
Yeah, thanks, Hugh. And certainly agility and flexibility have been key hallmarks of the challenges we've faced and the way that we've had to repurpose the organisation. And over the past 12 months, it's safe to say that our world has been turned upside down. I think it's taken, unfortunately, COVID-19 to awaken the nation to the fact that we have not only an amazing National Health Service, but more appropriately for organisations in the care sector, such as the Fed, an incredible organisation which has had to deal, on the front line with huge issues ravaged the community in respect of supporting our elderly and vulnerable. And as we heard before, and it's been a mantra of mine, the Fed is not just an old age organisation, we're an all-age organisation. And the fact we're all-age has meant the huge increase in demands for our services, which Mark and Bernie talked about earlier. Things like loneliness, things like isolation, domestic issues, and a whole raft of mental health issues. And those demands itself have created huge challenges, particularly financial for the organisation. Financial challenges and on-costs, such as increasing the number of qualified staff we have to deal with these issues, care workers, support workers, increased costs in order to essentially create more of a state-of-the-art organisation as a part of our vision, increased costs because the actual demands and the challenges facing those individuals, where the complexity of our community is growing. The average age of our new residents are 90, and when people come in our care homes now, they don't just have one ailment, they have a number to deal with. And then finally, to underpin all of that, reductions in funding from the local authorities has meant that when you put all that together, we'll have a deficit of £2 million. That's a huge challenge. And we want to continue, though, the services that we provide.
And Rafi, that community has been overwhelming in its support, I know, over the course of the last 12 months, but it is crucial, is it not, for them to continue to give what they can, time, effort, but also financially over the course of the next 12 as well.
The one word that I would use to describe the support that the Fed have had from our community over the last 12 months is humbling. The community maintained its level of financial support. We saw donations of PPE, donations of food, incredible donations of time, as we heard about earlier. But as the largest Jewish social care charity in Manchester, the Fed supports more Jewish people in our city region than anyone else. 1 in 8 Jewish homes, which is a quite staggering statistic. And the people that we help and the range of issues that we deal with are vast. The people we support are your next door neighbours. They're the people who you stand next to in a kosher shop, who you sit next to in synagogue. They're the families of the children that you know from school. It goes on behind closed doors, but it happens everywhere. And we are the community's safety net. It's as simple as that. We provide life-enhancing, life-saving support. And I make no apologies for saying that if we don't continue to do what we do, people in our community, Jewish people in our community, will suffer and in some cases die. So we're saying to our community tonight that we are your local charity. We support you, we support people that you know, people that you love and care about, and we're asking you tonight to support us. As Bernie said, we're not a national charity, we're a local charity, and we can only rely mostly on you, on our community for support. So please dig deep tonight. The work that we do is crucial and we cannot afford to stop doing it.
And what can you tell us about this opportunity provided by match funding?
Really exciting. We have one very generous donor who has offered to match fund, so essentially to double any donation made in the £1 to £250 donation range. And the reason for that is because we want everybody to understand that every pound counts. No donation is too small to make a tangible difference to the work that we do. So if you donate between £1 and £250, that will be doubled by this donor, and we ask everybody to consider that when making a donation to us tonight.
And the contributions that you two and the two, Mark and Bernie, before have made to the Fed are all put in context, I'd imagine, by what we're about to see, Rafi.
Yes, the film that we're about to see is a fantastic piece of work written by Tony Walsh, the Manchester poet, narrated by our very own Ashley Margolis. And it tells a story of the struggles that the Jewish community had to arrive in Manchester, how they strived to establish themselves and make lives for themselves, and how they've contributed to making Manchester the great city that it is, and how the Fed, in its various incarnations over 150 years, has been the golden thread running through the community and looking after our most in need and vulnerable, and never more so than in the past 12 months. So please get your tissues ready.
Yes, no doubt the pride that you both will feel watching this will be matched by everybody too. This is Not Alone.
Shalom has many meanings, but we share its Hebrew roots. Peace is in its branches and prosperity its shoots. Hello, goodbye and harmony and wholeness are its leaves. Its roots are deep, 6,000 years, but still it lives and breathes. And so our roots are widespread, they are tangled round the world. Our branches reach to Manchester, the centuries unfurled. A community would blossom here, grow tall and put down seeds. Its trunk is strong, the bounty of its fruit sustains our needs. And the trees grow in a circle. At its centre is a light. It speaks of home and not alone, a constant, burning bright, and it's burned in this great city as a beacon, as a flame, and it's made the city greater as the city made its name. And so many faiths and nations make a city, play their part, but today, Zachor, remember how we Jews have played our part. All we brought and all we taught and all we do and all we did. In Cheetham Hill, you hear it still, Shalom Aleichem, our kid. Sometimes destitute and hungry, often frightened, often poor. We would make our way to this place in the hope of something more, crossing borders, crossing continents, the price we paid, the cost. And so we honour those who made it, to remember those we lost. And we arrived, and some would thrive and some would make it up the hill. Our life was made in every trade, at every task, with every skill. And some conservative, some radical, some orthodox, reform, from rights and wrongs and fights and bonds, community is born. Through agreements, disagreements, grow the roots from which we came. We break the bread and prayers are said around eternal flames. We're Sephardi, Ashkenazi, we are Haredim and from. We are secular, we're movements, we keep going, overcome. As the decades turn to centuries, turn daughters to grandmothers, how we worked to get a safety net, as sisters and as brothers, some would prosper and would foster lots of acts of loving kindness, and of tzedakah as a mitzvah, and kahila as a wiseness. At first a small society gave bread and meat and coal, then a Jewish board of guardians helped the very poorest souls. And we look at those old photos now and think of where we climbed from, all the voices, all the choices, the rejoices we l'chaim from. Those who made us, those who prayed for us, who gave us all we are, thank you, Todah, Mazel Tov, for bringing us so far. And here tonight, in black and white, we look into those faces, all the hope they brought, the faith they taught, how extraordinary this place is. And we think of Jewish Manchester, and what a congregation. All the names that we acclaim and name in fame and celebration, and in knowledge, science, commerce, music, what a contribution. In politics and civic life, in change and revolution. In charity, community, the keeping of a flame, that constant, that eternal, nothing changes but the name. Now it's here at Heathlands Village, that's the way we pull together. Within the Fed, the love we spread, a love of all we share forever. And people think they know of us. They may do, that's true, but some may not know anything or everything we do. And we share this rare awareness in the hope that you can help to love thy neighbour as thyself. You might need us yourself. And just look at this, just look at this, the home that we have made here, and just think of all the stories of the elders who have stayed here. And it's beautiful. We made it so. We know we show we care here. The young and old, the stories told, the moments that we share here. Someone's father, someone's uncle, dear Bobby, or your mother. It is simple, but it's so hard to be there for one another. With a brew, a meal, a joke, a laugh, a hug, a prayer, a smile. Or while we're sad and lonely, someone stays there for a while. It's what we do. It's why we're here. It's how we keep that flame. And Heathlands Village says the sign, but love has many names. And there's tears here, but it's clear here there is peace and fun and laughter. And though Grandma keeps forgetting, she's remembered ever after. And Joseph was a tailor. Oh, the life that he had sown. Oh, the glories of his stories. But life left him on his own. Oh, he had us all in stitches. How? It's hard to understand, as his life had been the hardest, as we held his softest hands. And Sadie, in the corner, scared, she hardly said a thing. But the day we brought her music was the day we heard her sing. And her voice was old and shaking, but her eyes lit when she sung. Mama Loschen, from the shtetl, all her old songs sounded young. And Miriam would join in, badly, never missed a chance. She couldn't stand, but moved her hands. How beautifully she danced. And sometimes when the sun shines, when we're laughing here together, across divides and rising tides, a moment prized forever. And then COVID came. We learnt its name. We paid a heavy cost. The strength we found, the lengths we found, the mensch we found we'd lost. But strength is what we're made of. It's those roots again, remember? Always rising from the ashes, always growing from the embers, and the Fed has many branches, and not everyone will know this. We share our care out everywhere, and this is how we show this. We've expert teams and volunteers who work in our community, who never miss a chance to help at every opportunity. And we still have poor and hungry, and we still have cold and scared, but we still have ties that bind us, and the Fed to show we care. And every social problem, it goes on behind closed doors, and the Fed can gently open them and offer our support. And all across this city, your donations help us roam to 1 in 8. That's 1 in 8 of fellow Jewish homes. Imagine what is out there now. Imagine how we're needed. The blame, the shame, the pain, the same in every call we've heeded. Then imagine how we rise to this, the spirit that we've drawn on. How brightly burns the light in us, the fights that we were born from. And together with our donors and our patrons, volunteers, and all our staff and colleagues who have worked with us for years, we do things like this, and things like this, and things like this, and then we get knocked down, but yet we've found the things like this again. Community and unity, and things like this, and faith, and all we brought and all we fought for, Manchester, this place. And one day they may write another poem of this fight, with your name there to show you cared and how you brought the light. And Itzik is a gentleman, a humble man, such charm, still making his life count for more than numbers on his arm. And he whispers, love will triumph over evil that men do. And this is how we show him that we hear him, and we do. There are some things we remember in our prayers and in our homes. There are others we remember as we share them in our bones. We are there to hold each other's hands, to kiss each wrinkled brow. The love that's ever needed needs you more than ever now. Sometimes destitute and hungry, often frightened, often poor, we would make our way to this place in the hope of something more, crossing borders, crossing continents, the price we paid, the cost. And those of us who've made it honour those of us who've lost. And our love has many meanings, but we share its Hebrew roots. The Fed we've grown in Manchester, amongst its finest shoots. Within its name, eternal flame, the warmth we share lives on. It speaks of home, of not alone, of Manchester. Shalom.
It really is incredibly moving, and a story that could not be more emotionally and comprehensively told, using the words of Tony Walsh and spoken so brilliantly by Ashley Margolis. I'm still here with Rafi Bloom and Bernie Yaffe, and before we send you on your merry way, perhaps just a reflection, Rafi, on how that story talks of the myriad people that you're able to help with the Fed, and yet they are all here in Manchester and needing that help too.
The demand is overwhelming. It's as simple as that. In the last 12 months, we've dealt with over 1,000 cases of mental illness. We've given over 25,000 hours of volunteering. We've received over 3,000 calls for help to our telephone lines. We help 29 Holocaust survivors who suffer from mental and physical illness. We've helped people claim £116,000 of benefits that they would not normally have been able to access. So the support that we give is vast, and it's within just the Greater Manchester community. And you saw on that film, a lot of the problems go on behind closed doors. We can't necessarily show them, but they are there. And that is what makes the Fed the community safety net. It's what makes the Fed our community's local charity. And that is why we are asking very strongly, we need it, but we need our community to get behind us.
And Bernie, that's the very essence of what the Fed is asking for, but has benefited from over the years. It is people from here in Manchester who contribute and help those other people within the community and within the borders, if you like, of this area in which we live and that we love so much. Those are the people who will help, and those are the people that we kind of have come to rely on.
Absolutely. We want to be here for another 150 years, and in order to do that, we need the support of the community. As I said, we're a local organisation, so we have to ask our viewers for the support. If we don't get that support, we can't continue to do the work. It's as simple as that.
Well, Bernie and Rafi, thank you very much indeed for your incredible work that you've been able to do, particularly over the last 12 months, and indeed your contributions this evening. And it is why we're asking you for your kind donations. You can send them in via the website or indeed via a phone call as well. And thank you in advance for your incredible generosity as you look to help those nearest and dearest to you in Manchester's Jewish community. Thank you and good night.